that much. You should know more than I am already from looking at all those pictures and everything.
All right, start talking.
What should I say?
Let's talk about, do you remember your grandfather, grandmother?
My grandmother, I remember.
Tell me about your grandmother.
Well,
This was whose mother?
my father's mother.
Okay.
I knew my mother's mother too, but not too well, because they all lived in Patterson.
New Jersey.
And my mother's people had a dry goods store on Main Street there. And my father's mother, they had a house. And my grandfather was dead. And my grandmother lived with her daughters who were unmarried for a long time, and they took care of her. And I don't remember ever speaking to her. She was always sitting very quietly.
This is your mother's?
My father's mother. I spent a lot of time with my father's people.
Did she speak English?
I don't even know, but she must have been able to speak some. My father, his brothers and sisters were born here, and he was only a little boy when he came to this country. My mother's people, my mother was born in New Jersey, in Jersey City.
These are the Koryanskis.
Koryanskis, yeah. But I didn't know my mother's family too well, because when we went to we lived in Manhattan, but when we went to Patterson, we spent our time with my father's family. They had a house, and I remember far back one time when they didn't even have a bathtub in their bathroom. I used to have to go up to the attic, and they'd make a bath for me. And it was real. But they had a piano, and my aunt played the piano. And when I used to go to visit later on, when I used to go to Patterson for my vacations in the summertime.
From Manhattan?
From Manhattan. So I used to play the music that my aunt played, so she must have taken lessons too. She was a very, very attractive woman, this aunt, my Aunt Becky.
This was your mother's sister?
My father's sister.
Your father's sister?
I know more of my father's history.
Okay. And what do you remember? You said you remember your grandmother, but you don't remember your father's father.
That's right.
And you don't know what he did for a living?
No. Well, somebody had told me that they came from a very wealthy family at one time. In fact, going way back, they were in the shipbuilding business. Before the Revolutionary War, they made ships for Great Britain to fight America.
This would be your father's?
My father's family. Yeah.
Okay.
And but they weren't rich in Patterson, but they were comfortable. They had a nice, comfortable house with a yard, and it was nice.
And your father and your mother married in 1897, and you still have the wedding invitation, right?
Was that the wedding invitation?
Yeah. Why don't we show the wedding invitation?
Takes so long to take it?
Okay, continue with...
Well, when my mother died when she gave herself an abortion. And her family was quite comfortable. She had a sister whom I used to call my rich aunt. And when I lived in Manhattan, my rich aunt lived about 2 miles from us. And my brothers and my older brothers and I used to go to visit her every Saturday afternoon and for lunch. And she'd give each one of us a quarter. And after we left her, we used to walk to the Museum of Art in Central Park in the 80s. She lived in about 90th Street and Lexington Avenue, if I remember right. But she had told me one thing if there are any nutty people in our family, that it runs in the family for a little while, at some time, during um, when they're going through the change of life, but not for long. I visited her once in the hospital, but then she got better.
And what did your father do for a living?
My father, he was partners with his brother in the ketchup, mustard, pickles, sauerkraut, and they had a 3-floor factory, and they should have been successful. They were on and off, but I think my uncle was able to control my father. My father was not a strong character at all, and my uncle, going through the same thing, my uncle was able to be more successful in life than my father. But I know it might have been because my stepmother was always giving money to her family who had just come to America. And I have a cousin who lives a half a mile down this road, but I hardly ever see her. In fact, we were supposed to be together yesterday.
One sec.
Hey,
Well, you said your father and his brother were in business together?
yes,
What was his brother's name?
Jake.
What was that short for?
Jacob?
So your father's name was Jacob also, right?
Maybe, I don't know. I don't remember my father's father at all.
Okay. And where was their factory?
Downtown on,
In Manhattan?
in Manhattan.
Uh-huh. And when did your mom die?
When I was a year and a half old.
So that would have been when?
I was born in December 1901
So it would be 1903?
of 1903.
Okay. And then your father remarried Sasha?
Yeah,
Okay. So you were living in Manhattan at the time?
yes. I was born in Harlem,
Uh-huh.
and my brothers, I think, were born in Patterson, but I'm not sure.
Uh-huh. Your brothers being Charles and Harry?
That's right.
Okay. So you grew up most of your life in Manhattan?
In Manhattan.
Uh-huh.
And I went to school there, and I went to high school there.
Did you go past high school?
No,
Okay.
I had to go to work. They needed my money. I needed my money.
Okay.
And I was sorry that I couldn't go to college. In fact, I had registered one time for night college, but I only went 2 nights, and I felt I couldn't do it. It was always too much housework involved for me. I worked quite hard as a child at home. My stepmother used to leave the lunch dishes in the sink till I came home from school. Then I had to clean up the kitchen. And what else?
Your father and stepmother, they lived where when you grew up, after you grew up?
After I married, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
They lived in Holland. My father died at 77,
Uh-huh.
and his last years, my oldest brother Charlie and I, after she died, my oldest brother Charlie and I supported my father. And there was a retirement, they call it, now it's a retirement home, then it was called a nursing home. And we put him in there, but it was a very nice place. It was only about 3 blocks away from where I lived, and I used to go to see him 2 or 3 times a week. I took him and some of the friends from the building. I was driving for a ride once in a while, and then he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And my stepmother died earlier, and she never got along with my brother Harry. They were real enemies. And he had a garage, a repair shop, and apparently he told me that she said to him before she died that, why was I so mean to you when you were younger? You're so good to me now. We all helped to, to make them comfortable at the end of their lives.
This was Sasha saying that to Harry?
Yeah.
So you and Harry took care of her before she died? Now she
Well,
died...
Charlie had moved to California the first chance he got, and he was very fortunate. He met somebody who invested money for him, and he opened up some kind of jam he used to make. Fruit jam, I don't remember what it was, but he was very successful.
Mm-hmm.
And at one time, my husband and I took a trip around the country, and we stopped in California at my brother's house for a week or two, and my brother and his wife were very good to us. And
to you and Grandpa?
yes.
Now, Sasha died in 1937?
I don't remember exactly. Where'd you get that information?
I don't remember, but when you were around 30, 35 years old?
Yes. Apparently, I don't know where I don't remember those things anymore.
You don't remember how old you were when she died?
No.
Okay. Now, what can you remember that your grandmother was Jenny von Hirschberg?
She must have been. Her name was Jenny.
Uh-huh. And you don't remember much of the history? The von Hirschbergs came from Prussia?
That's where they were in the shipbuilding business.
In Prussia?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And that's about all you remember about the von Hirschbergs?
That's right. And I always had... lately I had forgotten a lot about it, but whenever I hear the word Hirschberg, I give a little start.
Mm-hmm.
And I met somebody not too long ago who came from Patterson and was that name. I'm trying to think of it right now. I thought he lived in this building. And I can't put the relationship together.
Mm-hmm.
I think I asked her if she was a relative of mine.
Okay. Tell me what you can remember about Grandpa's family.
Grandpa's family?
Yeah.
Well, that's all I can tell you I remember.
No, Grandpa. What about his
Oh, you
family?
mean my husband?
Yeah.
Oh, them. Well, I'd rather not put it in print.
Well, we want a historical perspective, not...
Oh, I'd rather not.
Grandpa's mother was Rebecca. We called her Baba.
Baba, yeah.
And her husband was Eliezer.
I don't remember that. He was not a bad sort, but she was... I prayed for her that even in her grave she should suffer. Because she was so mean to me.
What do you remember about his father? Anything?
He had a business. He made women's clothing, and he occasionally used to bring home clothing for his daughters. And if he brought me something, she was very angry.
Where was his business?
Downtown somewhere.
In Manhattan?
Manhattan.
So that's what he did?
Yes.
When you met him, when you met Grandpa, he was in the clothing business? Grandpa's father
Grandpa's father.
was in the clothing business?
Yeah.
And
Women's clothing.
And do you know where they came from, where he came from?
No.
No idea where he came
No
from?
idea. But they practiced a certain routine that was a good routine for any married couple. After they had their supper, they used to go outside, go for a walk, before they even did the dishes. If she had something to say to him, she would say it during the walk, or he'd say it to her, so that they should not quarrel in front of the children.
Mm-hmm. And you remember this because you knew Grandpa when he was pretty young?
Yeah.
Tell me about when you met him.
Grandpa?
Yeah.
Which grandpa you mean?
Harry. You met him in grade school or?
Oh, you mean, don't call him grandpa. Say my husband.
Okay. Tell me about
He
it.
lived next door to me.
Right next door?
Right in the next building.
Uh-huh.
And his window faced my window.
This is in Manhattan?
In Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to have card games in his room,